And we're live. All right. Well, Kufar, Akbar, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Cross and the Crescent discussion group. Thank you for spending your Sunday afternoon with us. This is a YouTube live stream program dedicated to rightly dividing the truth between Christianity and Islam. We're here every Sunday afternoon from 4 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, not Eastern. A lot of people get that confused. Central Standard Time. Think Chicago time. What was that movie where the famous line was Chicago Bang Bang? Do you guys remember what was that? That's some Asian lady. It was Chicago. And anyway, think of Chicago time. Think of radical moderate time, not Paul Sutcliffe time. Paul Sutcliffe time is Eastern Standard Time. Anyway, we on the show, what we do is we have a panel of participants here, and we discuss all kinds of topics dealing with the differences between Christianity and Islam. And this week, oh, sorry, John Isaac's in the chat. John, you can come up on panel anytime you want. Look in your, somebody's got a hot mic. Look in your Skype account. I sent it there. If you're no longer there, or your Facebook Messenger, if you want to come up, John, we would love to have you. We miss you too, brother. If anybody doesn't know John Isaac is one of them Egyptian guys. And we don't fault him for it, but he is a. Thank you, Darcy. He is a Christian from Egypt, and he knows firsthand how Christians are treated in Islamic majority countries, and he is a wealth of information and can provide anybody a personal testimony as to. This religion of so-called peace. Okay, so today, what are we doing? Today we are, and where is Issa? Okay, Issa went on a certain Imam show. No, Darcy, I will just send me my lady. Just send it to me, and I'll make it worth your while. I'm sending her an Israeli. She wants one of my flags, and I'm like the Israeli flag dealer, evidently. Anyway, what was I saying? Okay, so Issa goes on the Imam show this week, and I don't normally listen to that garbage over there, but since it was Issa, and thank you, Rad's always dragging me into this. He says, you got to watch this. And I'm like, okay. So I listened. The more I listened, the angrier that I got. I could not believe that. I could not believe the hypocrisy and the dishonest. Well, I can believe because I've had to deal with this guy for so long, but the hypocrisy and the dishonesty that exists over on that show. And that's exactly what we saw on display in his conversation with Issa. So today what we're going to do is we're going to slice and dice that to get an understanding of where that point and where that point of view actually emanates from, and how hypocritical somebody can be when approaching the issue of the Palestinian and Israeli so-called conflict that exists over there. But before we did that, I want to give you guys just a little bit of a perspective as to the differences between, because he keeps making this he tries to make this equivalent, trying to make this equivalent between what the Israelis are doing to the Palestinians is the equivalent of what the Palestinians are doing to the Israelis. And for somebody that is sane, it's kind of hard to watch that. So what I want to do is I want to just show you what kind of started all of this for me a couple years ago. Was that I caught the Imam's fancy when I was commenting on one of his shows. This is when I used to actually pay attention to him in one of his live streams. And here is, let me see if I can get this up here. Let's see, how do I do this? I do it this way. And here's what he said, because I challenged him on, I challenged him on firing rockets into Israel and what his view on it was. So let me go ahead and play this. You guys go ahead and listen to what he has to say about that. Okay.
Yeah. And yes, it's shooting rockets into another country without regard. Yes, let me tell you why it's justified.
Okay, so he was talking about it, firing rockets, the Hamas holes from the Gaza Strip, firing rockets into Israel indiscriminately at civilians is justified. That in of itself is the definition of terrorism. And this is where he spends the entire, well, not the entire show, but a lot of his show here lamenting the fact that the Hamas is actually called a terrorist organization. Well, I have another video here that I want to show you that basically gives a good idea of what a terrorist organization does and what the most civilized society does. Picture Vacation Bible School. You think I'll get this into your head? Vacation Bible School. I teach at my church's Vacation Bible School every year. It's a lot of work because you got to teach like preschoolers all the way up to middle schoolers, and you have to have a class prepared that is relevant to everybody from that age to this age. It's a tough thing to do, but I love doing it. I love sharing the gospel with little kids. And you sing songs, and you have crafts, you play games, you have all kinds of cool food all the time. Picture a Bible school. Okay, here is a Palestinian type Bible school. Let me go ahead and put this up on the screen if you don't mind. Here we go. Where'd we go? This is, hold on, let me do this. Our screen. Okay, here we go. Here's what it looks like in Palestine.
School's out in Gaza, and for thousands of teenagers here, this is how the holidays are spent. Preparation for the next conflict with Israel, handling firearms and physical training. Their enemy is very close, just a few hundred meters away at the border. There's every chance they're watching, so the tutors at this summer camp like to keep their faces covered.
We don't
want war, but if it is
all right, enough of that garbage. You can see the difference. I'm trying to draw a distinct contrast here. When you teach your children to hate another people group, this is the result. Those children grow up teaching their children to hate a certain people group, and they grow up teaching their children, and it eventually leads to little kids running around with Kalashnikovs playing soldier.
Well, what's funny is that Kenny actually says in a clip, and he actually kind of pisses Issa off. It was kind of funny, but he actually says that what the Jews are doing to the Palestinians is just what the Nazis did to the Jews, and he gets really mad. But here's the funny thing. What the Palestinians are doing to the Jews is really what the Nazis are doing to the Jews, which we can get into all that later, because he says, I don't know anything about Hamas. Well, that's just lazy. That's just lazy intellect on your part. I mean, totally stupid. I mean, I got the Hamas charter up. It took me 3 seconds of Google to find that. I got, you know what I'm saying? Okay. But I want to play one clip here. I think this is honestly the best part of Kenny's show the other night. And I think Issa will agree with me on that. So if you will, please just give me a second here to pull it up. Okay. Share screen.
This
We're
is
professional
classic.
here.
Just to let you know, this is kind of classic. I know what he's going to play here.
All right.
Hold
Let me
on.
crank it up. Ready?
No, hold on. Now I'm ready. All right, go ahead.
All right, here we go. Again, best part.
Okay, I'm not sure who this is, but welcome to the panel.
Hello, Kenny and Marshall. Thank you.
Goodbye, Robert Wells. Robert Wells, you are not allowed on this stream.
What?
I don't know why you would even come here.
Didn't he used to always invite me?
Allowed here.
Wow, that's
Go.
kind of sad.
Go make 5 or 6 videos about me.
No. So, oh yeah, he says go make 5. Yeah, we're gonna make one about you. But anyway, best part. Remember how you say you can come on my show anytime, and I'll let you speak. And we tried that. It was like right away. We're kicked out of the Zoom. Pretty much the same. But he has let me on from time to time. But I don't know.
Only when nobody else, and he can talk over you and put you backstage. And I don't even know why you mess with the guy. I mean, it's just like,
it's like, well,
going to.
Here's the funny part. Let's play another clip real quick, because here's the funny part. See, I like Marshall. I guess Marshall set this whole thing up, if I'm not talking out of school. But Marshall actually makes more sense than Kenny. He really does. He actually sounds. Now, he doesn't make more sense. He sounds more reasonable than Kenny. Can we play that clip real quick? And then I'll let you continue on. I won't madden the show anymore.
Kenny, Marshall is more rational than Kenny. Is that the one that you're talking about?
You want to go ahead and play that real quick?
No, hold on. Stop. There we go. Okay. Let me. Where am I? Present. Well, this is what happens when you try to present stuff and then I try to present stuff. Okay, I think we got it right here. Here we go. And ba-bing, ba-boom. Okay.
It seems there's a great imbalance. Great imbalance there. Sure, go ahead, Brother Marshall.
I think with the two-state solution, we got to first start off, and we got blame on both sides of the situation, and we got to look at it too. We do have Israel bombing schools and bombing mosques, but also we have Hamas shooting missiles. That is haram, because you're shooting it no matter where you're aiming at. You don't know where you're hitting. Even under the commandments of war and the commandments of Prophet Muhammad, that's kind of haram. So and then when a school gets hit, they want to play the victim card. And I'll be honest. I mean, we got blame on both sides. So be honest. Prophet Muhammad said, to clean your own house before you worry about others. So and the problem I think with the two-state solution is Muslims. We're going to have a small percent of Muslims. You're going to say no Jews supposed to be in them, none. Then you're going to have a small percentage. Then you're going to have a small percentage of the Jewish Zionists that said no Muslims are going to be allowed.
Look at Kenny's face. He does not agree with this at all. Do you see Issa? Issa's like agreeing with it, and yeah, if you believe in a two-state solution, I don't. But you're going on with that, okay? But look,
we're gonna come back to back to that part right there, because, and I agree. I mean, I think we can start thinking about Marshall, the intellectual. It's kind of a bitter thing.
Marshall is more. Am I right?
I know,
Marshall
he makes more. He is more reasonable. But
yeah, I like Marshall. I don't know why he's mad at me. All of a sudden, out of the blue, he said, "Don't contact me anymore. Don't talk to me."
I know.
Okay, whatever.
Okay.
Breaks my heart, Marshall. Marshall, reach out to me.
Yeah,
it's not my fault.
All right, let's leave him alone for right now. All right, let's go to this part right here, because I want to get Paul off to his event that's going on. So let me present screen, and we are, hold on, present screen, and let's see here. I think this is it. And let's go ahead and play this. Here we go.
I can't think of the word of it, but they're systematically being destroyed. But when they fight back, now people are pointing fingers and claiming that, who is Hamas really? How do we really know who Hamas is?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's the question. Evidently, the Imam does not know who Hamas is. When a couple years he's supporting Hamas firing rockets into Israel indiscriminately. His pals over there at CARE are supporters of Hamas. So, you know, this is what just the dishonesty of this clown is. It knows no bounds. I mean, to even rhetorically ask like, oh, who is Hamas? We really don't know who Hamas is. Yes, we do. And we have an expert on this, luckily, with Paul on the panel today. And Paul is going to tell us exactly who these Hamas holes are.
So Hamas is, if anybody's interested, this is a document called the Hamas Covenant, and you can find the portions we're going to talk about. You can find in my book, Civilization Jihad. I just put the link in the chat room. Civilization Jihad and the Myth of Modern Islam. I'm going to read portions, but I'm going to also show them to you. This is on this link. I'm going to put this link in here real quick. This is from Yale. Yale Law School has this link up on their site. So this is Hamas Covenant. So Kenny, who's, as the comments have been going, has one brain cell, and somebody just said lost 3/4 of his brain cell. Well, it doesn't take much of a brain cell to actually do some research. So maybe you need more than one. I don't know. I'm not the medical professional. So I'm going to leave that for them to think about. But if you just simply want to understand who the Hamas is, let's look at what they said. In the beginning of their charter, it says, let me just get this part and see here. The Islamic Resistance Movement, just looking for that. And we're going down to the charter. Here we go. The Covenant of the Islamic Resistance Movement, Hamas, clarifies its picture, reveals its identity, outlines its stand, explains its aims, speaks about its hopes, and calls for its support, adoption, and joining its ranks. Our struggle against the Jews, notice it didn't say Israel, is very great and very serious. It needs all sincere efforts. It is a step that inevitably should be followed by other steps. The movement is but one squadron that should be supported by more and more squadrons from this vast Arab and Islamic world until the enemy is vanquished and Allah's victory is realized. I want you to think about that. I mean, that's what it says. I can read more here. Let's go on. It says there's another part here. Let's see. That is, okay. The Islamic resistance erupted in order to play its role in the path of its Lord. In so doing, it joined the hands with those of all jihadi fighters for the purpose of liberating Palestine, a place that does not exist, by the way. There is no country named Palestine. There is no.
Hey, Paul,
place.
can I say something about that?
Yeah.
If you are a Hamas hole, or let's say you're Arafat, and you want to create a people group, and you want to stick it to the Jews, you have to go clear back to the time of the Roman Empire. And what did the Roman Empire start calling the people that resided in that region after the destruction?
It was the whole purpose of this is where it gets even funnier. Right. I'm going to pick. Okay, so if you're Arab, first of all, there is no P sound. There's no P sound in Arabic. There is an F sound. Like the PH sound is an F sound. So I want you to think about how they pronounce this, Palestine. I'll let that play in your minds. I'm not going to repeat that. That's pretty sad when you start thinking about what that word means. If you type it in phonetically, you'll find out, and that's bad enough. Thank you, Rat. I didn't need to. Okay, so let's look at Article 2. And this is, I think, extremely important. The Islamic resistance is one of the wings of the Muslim Brothers in Palestine. This is a Muslim Brotherhood. Muslim Brotherhood movement is a world organization, the largest Islamic movement in the modern era. It's characterized by profound understanding, by precise notions and by a complete comprehensive of all concepts of this in Islam, in all domains of life, views, beliefs, politics and economics, education, society, jurisprudence, and rule, indoctrination, and teaching the arts of. So this is a chapter of the Muslim Brotherhood. This is an organization that exists for the purpose of wiping out, they've already said it, wiping out all of Judaism. It's not just Israel. They may scream from the river to the sea, but they've already identified their purpose is to wipe out all Jews. So really, Kenny, if you used your brain cells and actually read how they define themselves, you might be able to figure out that this is more than what you think it is.
Sort of sounds like Mein Kampf. I mean, I've been reading Mein Kampf lately, just to get inspired. No, seriously, I've been reading Mein Kampf just to see. I mean, no,
just to get inspired for what are you talking about?
No, I've been reading. I know that sounded bad. No, I've been reading Mein Kampf. Okay, to sit there and make the contrast of what we're seeing.
All right, Paul. Hey, thank you for coming, brother. I appreciate
you. Done, Paul? I thought you got more, Paul.
He's got important things to do. He's got places to go. He's got people.
I'm back.
Oh, you're back. Well, no, we gotta stop talking about Issa. He's here now. Shh, quiet now.
Okay, don't talk about
Actually, I thought Issa did a pretty good job, except he was too high level for Kenny.
No, I have some very unkind words for Issa coming up, but let's go ahead.
Okay, all right, but anyway.
Okay, well, you're still my friend, Eric. Even if you chastise me, it's fine.
It's okay. It's okay.
Let me continue on with Hamas. Again, you can. I'm going to show you. This is the unedited version because we got some very interesting things in here. Okay, this is again from some university website. Let me see if it tells me here. Hebrew University, Jerusalem. Oh, Harry Truman Research Institute. It's been translated by some doctor, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, in the preamblum, okay, it quotes this dude, Hassan Banana, Bain, something. Israel, are you sharing this?
No, I'm not. I'm sorry. I didn't know I was supposed to share it. Okay, you got to tell me. Okay, good. All right, you're up. Can you make that any bigger? Or no, let me ask you, can you make it any smaller that we can't read?
There we go. How's that?
That's better, much better. There you go.
All right. Okay, this is in the preamblum. Israel will rise and will remain erect until Islam eliminates it as it has eliminated its predecessors. And that's quoting Imam and martyr Hassan al-Banna. Or Banna, whatever.
Banna.
Okay. Who is this dude? Who is this dude? He is the founder of the Muslim Brotherhood, one of the founders of the Muslim Brotherhood. He died in 1949. Okay, Egyptian school teacher and imam, best known for
founding
the Muslim Brotherhood.
Didn't they hang him or something?
I don't know.
I think they killed him, yeah.
Anyway,
go ahead.
Well,
go ahead.
Either way. So let's now go to Article 13. Remember, remember two-state solution, peace and all that fun stuff, peace, love, and, love.
Kumbaya. Yeah, that's exactly what they want. That's exactly what they're pushing for, yeah.
I hope Kenny's paying attention because we're teaching him about Hamas. But he will say, this is all propaganda. How do we know?
That's
anyway,
because he's a student of propaganda and an expert in propaganda, don't you see? Yeah, go ahead.
He's the expert in propaganda. Article 13, peace initiatives, the so-called peaceful solutions, and the international conferences to resolve the Palestinian problem are all contrary to the beliefs of the Islamic resistance movement. For renouncing any part of Palestine means renouncing part of the religion. The nationalism of the Islamic resistance movement is part of its faith. The movement educates its members to adhere to its principles and to raise the banner of Allah over their homeland as they fight their jihad. Allah is the all-powerful, but most people are not aware. Yeah, so it's sort of like in their, charter, all you had to do was Google it. Expert of propaganda. And you would, I mean, seriously, this dude, that's how Kenny goes in his reasoning. First of all, if you listen to the whole discussion, Kenny just dismisses any critique of the Palestinians as mere propaganda. He just says, how do you know? I don't know. Mere propaganda. Okay? But he says assuredly that the propaganda that the Palestinians are using, like for instance, well, so what? They fire one rocket. It's not one freaking rocket. And two, well, how are they getting the rockets? They're building their own rockets. I mean, seriously, that argument was so stupid. Okay, and I'm sorry. You should have jumped on Issa. I even gave you that in text. What do you mean the Palestinians cannot build their own rockets? If you take high school shop and you have a friend that takes organic chemistry and you have access to an encyclopedia or even internet or whatever, you can build your own rocket. It's not that difficult. Okay. Anyway, point being is this. End on this. I mean, but he just downplays it, and he basically says these people are too stupid. How they're too stupid and poor. Oh, and it's all Israel's fault. You know what I mean? But we can get into that later. Whatever. Go ahead.
Well, it's
Anyway.
it's the lack of his inability to apply any semblance of equity to the situation, of equal treatment of the sides. And it isn't that I have I do have my biases against terrorist organizations, Fatah, Hamas, Hezbollah, Al Qaeda, ISIS. I'll admit I do have my biases against them. And so when people try to equate what they do when they're trying to advance their political agendas, whether it's the Palestinians firing rockets indiscriminately into Israel, or ISIS parading, 30 Egyptians down a beach and cutting their heads off for for a video. Yeah, I'm gonna speak out a little loudly against that type of behavior, because it's flippin' evil. That's why. And we, as civilized societies, and we're gonna listen to a clip that this clown made or said, we as civilized societies don't embrace that type of evil. However, on the other hand, it seems that you do, and that's why we're doing this show. It's because when you start in on them Jews. What would you prefer, Imam? Would you prefer that there not be any of them Jews in Palestine? Would you prefer that they all go away? Would you prefer that the Hamas holes would get their way, and you would have this right of return of all Palestinians? What do you think that would lead to? Let's be honest here. If the Palestinian people, so-called, so described, were able to attain this dream of returning back to Israel and have full citizenship as Israeli citizens, how long do you think it would take for the Knesset to change their laws to start treating Jews like dhimmis? And if you don't think that's not going to happen, then perhaps maybe you could point me to one Muslim majority country where there are a significant number of Jews where they're not discriminated against. I mean, could you do that? Or maybe if we want to talk about, people occupying the land at the time, like you start off the show, well, there was people in the land when they got there. Yeah, but there wasn't people called Palestinians. This was the remnants of the Ottoman Empire, the historical moron. And there was no governments there. There was no, there were no common currencies. There were no definable border. There was nothing. The Jews were going there because it was their homeland, buying land at extortionist rates. Oh, by the way. And then on the day that they declared independence, and we covered this last week, they were attacked by six Muslim majority countries. Muslim majority countries attacking a Jewish state that they swore that they would never allow to happen. And the state, even to get to this, the state itself that Israel, the Jews agreed upon and accepted from the British mandate in the UN, was a fraction of the size that they were initially offered under the Balfour Declaration. Oh, we don't want to talk about that, but we're talking about it right now. And then on top of that, just as soon as they declared their sovereignty, after coming out of the Holocaust, where the entire world started realizing what had happened to these people, Why? Because they did not have a place to go. They had no place to immigrate to. The United States is just as guilty on that one. This is true, but we also played a huge role in stopping it. Oh, by the way, never want to talk about that because you hate your country. But anyway, they have no place to go. They finally are given a homeland, and the only people on the planet that are told that, well, you have to agree upon a two-state solution. You have to agree to some type of panel. You have to shut your pie hole. Why is it always the Jews that have to have to give it? I'm going to play a clip. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do it right now. This is absolutely obscene. He was talking about. What was he talking about? He was talking about. Let's see here. The Palestinians being systematically destroyed. No. Let's see here. He was talking. I got this. Give me a second, guys. I'm sorry for ranting here. He was talking about how the United States always pushes their toe on the scale of justice for these guys. Oh, the United States never wanting to step in to do the right thing. Where is this? It's right here. Here we go. Let me play it. I'm sorry if I'm getting too emotional about this, guys. But
well, there I am.
Here we go.
The third party say enough is enough. Let's stop this. But because the big brother, the United States, is looming over the whole situation and feeding the Israeli government billions of dollars, that they could, be trying to say, hey, let's create a peace treaty here and let's do something different.
Okay, number one, the United States has given the Israelis billions of dollars so they can defend themselves from the people like the Hamas holes or the other Arab countries that want to push them into the sea. You ever hear the BDS movement, Imam? From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Do you think that sounds like they want a two-state solution? No. But the United States, in its goodness, has sought out for decades to find a two-state or find some type of peace agreement, to build a peace agreement. And you evidently are, if you go on your computer and stay off of YouTube and quit making videos about yourself, you can go to a place called Google and you can actually get a lot of information. I'm not going to guarantee you all the time the information is going to be accurate. But a quick Google search this morning produced this information. Mr. Propaganda expert. Let's see here. Okay, so the United States, after the Yom Kippur War in 73, and after Israel had controlled all that land gained because they were attacked from Egypt. Well, they weren't attacked from Egypt. They ended up giving the Sinai back, but I'll get to that here in just a second. They were attacked from the West Bank by Jordan. They were attacked from the Golan Heights by Syria. So when they got this land, they're being told, well, you have to negotiate to give this land back. Why? Why do they have to give land back that they were attacked from? Why can't they keep the land according to international law? Why are they the only ones that are allowed? Why can't Germany get the land back that it attacked Poland from, or the land that it went in and seized from the Czechoslovakia, or go back to France and take back the land that they took from? Why can't Germany have that land back according to you? I mean, heck, they were just Nazis. They weren't really terrorists according to you. The United States is engaged in the Camp David Accords in 1978. You remember this? You're kind of a young guy. You probably don't remember this. But this is where Jimmy Carter got with Anwar Sadat and was it Menachem Begin? And they all had this great agreement to return to Sinai, to Egypt. Oh, this is the perfect thing. What did the Muslim Brotherhood do to Anwar Sadat the next year? They built him this palace up. No, they killed him.
They killed him dead in public during a military parade.
Right.
That's how
these guys. It. Yeah, they had a parade. Here he's sitting there swimming. Yeah. Hey, what are these guys doing? They're shooting at me. Then he's dead. And they threw a bunch of grenades up in the. Okay. The Oslo Accords in 1993. You remember these, don't you? I mean, William Jefferson Clinton with Arafat and who was it? Ehud Barak. Was that Barak? Ehud Barak? Doesn't matter. Camp David, again, at the last tail end of Clinton's era. Arafat's offered 99. This is with Ehud Barak. That's right. 99% of everything he wanted, and he still said no. That's what a terrorist does. I mean, if you want to talk about what a terrorist is, Yasser Arafat was a terrorist. And Issa, you let him off the hook because you were lamenting about the fact that the Saudis, they keep all kinds of money. You know how much Yasser Arafat was worth when he died? Anybody have any idea?
Over $1 billion.
Yeah. He wasn't worth like $300 or $3,000.
And they had to fight like hell. Do you know the Palestinians had to fight like hell to recover some of the money?
Right,
they didn't get it
wife.
all. Yeah, no, the wife kept most of it. No, she was on the TV, on the YouTubes, before the YouTubes. Oh, they're trying to take away your money, Palestinians. No, they're trying to get it away from your greedy hands because she's off in Paris on a multi-million-dollar shopping spree.
But Eric,
do you know, here's the...
do you mind if I say one quick thing? I'm so sorry. Eric, do you think I wasn't saying that about accountability? Because I feel like I was saying, hey,
no, you were.
What about
not
the corrupt
leaders? Not on that. But when you started talking about the United States not providing or being a imperialistic, I can't remember exactly what you said, but it dealt with not providing opportunity to poor people in this country, as if like, you know, that there's not a country on the planet where you don't have any poor people. And
that's fair. I grant
that. Go to those and if you go to those countries, like, I don't know, and this is, you know, I was like, what is wrong with you? I was yelling at the screen saying, what's wrong with you, Issa? Because it sounds like, it sounded to me like, let me be careful how I say it, because I don't want to offend you, but it sounded to me like you were supporting the idea of socialism as opposed to capitalism.
So my position, that's a good question. My position is actually, I have been working on this because I want to be a politician. My position is, how do we get people opportunity?
Why are you on this show then? If you want to be a politician, Issa, why are you on this show?
Hey, I'm his campaign manager.
I mean, this goes recorded, for God's sake.
Oh, it's okay. It's good because then I can talk about it. I said I'm brave enough to come into different spaces. I have no cowardice about this stuff. I go into different places and talk about these things. Most of these people who do leadership don't have the strength to deal with certain things. So my goal that I want to do is promote vocations. I want to promote people becoming plumbers, electricians. I've done a lot of research into this. I've done fellowships in this, where the problem is we focus a lot on welfare and Section 8 housing instead of having that as our backup plan. Like when you really, really need it, we don't focus on allocating our resources to help our citizens have access to occupations that can help our country. Can you imagine if we got people to go through vocation school? Not everyone should go to college. Not everybody has the money to do that. Why put people into debt? Why not have the city support an initiative to get people to get jobs, get training to be electricians, plumbers, HVAC, all of this stuff, computer technicians, and go and get these people into jobs. People want to work. People don't want to be on the streets doing drugs. The problem is there's politicians who are pushing these initiatives. Because if you have people, because the people's pride, the people's drive is being robbed from them. If you push and say, hey, you have value, you have merit, you can have a family, you can have something real in your life, why wouldn't you take that opportunity? It's because you're pushed through a space where you don't have that.
Issa, don't you understand? It's the color of your skin that determines your success now in the United States of America. Because if you're white, you're just a racist white supremacist. Nothing you can do about that. You know what I mean? That's what they're teaching.
I'm engaging this within DEI too, because a lot of people don't know about white folks who live in the Appalachian Mountains. No one is talking about people who are
but
in
it doesn't matter.
poverty.
Their whiteness. They have their
but they
whiteness.
don't have running water or electricity.
Yeah,
they don't have running water and electricity.
But again, they still because we'll get into that later. Let's get back to the Kenny thing.
That's fine.
My whole point, and I think this is the problem with not the problem with Eric, but it's just the thing on missed opportunities where we would have been like coming hard at Kenny, like, you know, bringing up some of this stuff. Like, for instance, I would have brought up the whole money thing, which Eric didn't bring up just now. The whole, did you know we supplied not just we supplied the Palestinian organization, or what they call the Palestinian Authority, with all their M16s and all kinds of, well, we didn't give them tanks, but we gave them a lot of light arms and ammunition. Well, guess what? When Hamas, and they told George Bush, do not have an election, but he's all like, democracy for the Middle East, it's the greatest thing. That's what we want. Have the vote. And they all voted for Hamas. And then Hamas got all those beautiful M16s and all that ammunition, and then they turned it on the Palestinian people. Yeah, we did that. So we did. Good.
And Rod, I'm so glad you brought that up. I brought that up in the conversation. I'm like,
oh, did you?
Do. I think I mentioned this about the Hamas throwing
Hamas
people
the PL off the roof.
They threw the PLO off the roofs. I'm like, this is documented. You cannot tell me Hamas are good people.
What was his response? He's
like, it's like a story. It's not real. It's propaganda.
It's propaganda. How do we know?
But I'm like, but this is historically documented. And I'm like, and also you keep saying Palestinians are all Muslims. Palestinians are Christians and Druze too. There's a lot of Christian Palestinians.
There's a very small minority of that, but that's
they're actually
the point.
A lot of the Christian Palestinians are now in like America. A lot of them have left the area, but I mean, there are Arab Palestinians. A lot of people don't know that there are Arab Christians. We kind of act like Arab Christians don't exist.
Why are they leaving? Why are they leaving?
Oh, because it's just terrible. There's no opportunity. They want to go places where they can get opportunity.
Actually, Bethlehem was like 90% Arab Christians before they seceded it to the West Bank, to the Palestinian Authority, and it's now down to like 10%. They all got out while they
left.
Good.
Yeah, and
I went to Jerusalem. I did see Arab Christians. I saw Arab Muslims or Middle Eastern Christians, Middle Eastern Muslims when I was in Jerusalem, and that was the sad thing. It really made me very sad. I saw Al-Aqsa, and I'm like, why can't everybody go to Al-Aqsa? Why are you like hoarding this place? And I actually say this is the same thing with Mecca and Medina. If this is the most beautiful place in the world, why not allow everyone to have access to it?
Because of religious supremacism. That's all it is. It's just a religious supremacist ideology. When you say that Christian and Jews are the worst of creatures, when you're Allah, not just Muhammad saying this is his Allah saying this. 98:6. The Jews and Christians are the worst of creatures. Their abode is the hellfire. Well, okay. And you're not letting the worst of creatures into Mecca and Medina, the Hijaz? Well,
but there's a big problem with that. There's
a big problem with it. I agree 100%. There's a huge problem with it.
Well, but there's also cognitive dissonance because, like, a Salafi will say, I can eat the food of the Christian and the Jew. And then they say Christians and Jews are Ahlul Kitab, the people of the book. I mean, you're going to have a cognitive dissonance. Are they people of the book? Is the Torah true? Is the Injil true? Are these texts true? If they are true, then you can't hate. And it says also in the Quran, it says that Muslims and Christians, Christians and Jews and Sabians will be protected. So I'm like, there's a lot of mixed messaging. It's like, which position are you going to take? And then some say, well, it's abrogated. But I mean, if that's abrogated, does God change God's mind? I mean, like, it's a huge theological crisis if you go with those kinds of situations,
Well, he wants to. He does not want to admit, and he said in one part that it supposedly says in the Bible that this land was given to the Jews. I mean, what kind of idiot would say that? It does say in the Bible that the land was given covenantally by God to the Jews. And it also says, oh, by the way, it says that in his own Quran. If you would read it, it says the same thing. So if that's the case, why are they trying to take the land away from the Jews? If it says there in the Bible that they supposedly embrace and the Quran that they think is the word of God, well, why aren't they following it? Why don't they let the Jews have the land if that's what it says? And this was mentioned last week. I think it was, I don't know if it was you that said that, where it's called the Holy Land, when in fact in the Bible it doesn't say that. And this is where only an illiterate from the 7th century would call it that.
They call it Palestine. They call it Palestine. And I'm like, I find that a fascinating term to call the land Palestine, because I'm like, well, you do know this was an attack against the people of the book. Like, if you believe that Bani Israel and you believe in the 124,000 prophets, and then all these prophets are coming from God, right? And you believe that they come from God, and most of them are Israelites or Hebrews, and there might be a few Middle Eastern ones. If you believe all of those things, wouldn't you say that then that's a part of the situation? One thing, it's hard because I've been in a lot of Muslim spaces, and it's just like very hostile. There's a lot of anti-Jewish rhetoric.
Well,
I mean, I've also been anti-Christian
it's
rhetoric.
Sunnah. It's Sunnah. Issa, that's, if you look, there's a slide that I got from Bill Warner. I don't know if you know who Bill Warner is, but he writes a lot of, he analyzes a lot of the Islamic writings, and he analyzed the Sirah, the Sunnah, the main 6 hadith collections, and the Quran, and he came out with, I think, 40% of it. I'm not going to give a number. I'll find the number, but it's exponentially higher. The anti-Semitic rhetoric that you find in those 3 works is exponentially higher than what you would find in Mein Kampf.
Yeah, it's this is something that I'm really trying to combat. I'm actually with you. I'm very much against anti-Jewishness, and I really like that you were accountable when you said, look, European nations did this. They were anti-Jewish, and it's like, that's the thing. I like modern day Christianity and first century Christianity. I'm a big fan of both of them, but the European Christianity throughout the centuries, not a big fan. I don't think it's so good. But this modern day Christianity, which is not racist, like a lot of the churches I've seen, it's all diverse. You have people of all ethnicities. I love that. But, in this country, they weren't like that, back in the 50s and 60s. I think we've evolved in our spaces.
That was, in the 1950s under Democratic control, okay?
I'm not going to deny that. Woodrow Wilson was horrible.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So you can't sit there and say all Americans. I'm just saying Republicans, okay? Just saying we're not like that.
I feel you. No, I'm just saying, but the culture here, like, if you watched programs in the 50s, you don't see any people of color there. I like what I see now.
It's because they were 3% of the nation, dude. Don't see this in a thing. Okay, I am sorry. And I have to sit there and say to them, dude, regardless of what they say, African Americans have only been, they're now 13%. They should be a lot more. But they were only 3% in the 70s, 7% in the 60s, and all of a sudden there's a stagnation in population growth, and that is due to abortion. But I won't get into that as well. But I'm sorry. Yes,
but you do know there was Jim Crow too. There was Jim Crow laws too.
Those were in Democrat.
I'm not denying. I'm not saying that that's false. I'm just saying that was a part of our history here. We also had the internment camps. I'm like, we have to just be honest and say these terrible things happened, and we're moving forward. We're progressing out of that. And I think that's what I want for the Muslim community. I want progression, because there's a lot of regression. You know what I mean?
Okay,
we
but
need progression.
See, that's why I think next week's show, hopefully we can do it on can Islam be reformed, or can there be a reformation in Islam? And see if we can get Marshall to come. Well, I don't know. Do you want Marshall on?
No.
Eric? No. Okay, forget about that. Anyway.
Ain't gonna happen.
Ain't gonna happen. Okay. But let's see if we get some Muslims to come on and talk about if Islam can be reformed. But I want to get back to the top, because there's something interesting that Kenny did bring up in his argumentation. And I think this is another point that you missed. Okay. Let me bring up, I'll share it. Okay. It's very interesting here. Okay. Especially because you know the actual history. So, I mean, he doesn't know the history. He just thinks, like, I don't know, Jews just parachuted into Israel in 1947 with machine guns and heavy tanks.
That's what he wants everybody to think. That's what he wants everybody to think. See, he's not completely ignorant of the history.
He's the propaganda.
Right. He's the one that is putting out the propaganda.
See, this is why I said
supposedly lament.
That's why I said the alternate title to the show is refuting the propaganda. I forgot what it is, but anyway. Let me pull this up. Palestinians don't have an army.
Which one is it? Just tell me which one it is, and I'll pull it up.
Oh, you got it? Okay, it is. Kenny defends Jews defending themselves.
Kenny defends Jews. Keep
It's
sending.
clip number 3. Clip number 3.
Oh, it's okay.
003.
Yeah, here we go. Hold on. Let's stop. Here we go. Is that it?
Yeah, I guess. Does it say?
Yeah.
Well, play it, dude. You got to hit that little triangle thing. Play it.
What are you talking about?
It's not playing. I'm not seeing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got the wrong thing up. That's why. All right. I'm sorry. Okay.
We are a professional organization.
Well, we are not. Okay. Here we go. There. Okay.
In defense of my family and friends or whoever might
Start at the beginning.
I'll summarize by saying that it is my belief that if a man or a group of men come into my home and I fight back for my dwelling place and in defense of my family and friends or whoever might be here, I have a right to do so, a God-given right to do so. In this God-given instinct that we've been blessed with, we engage in what's called fight or flight. We either run because we're outnumbered and there's no way we can win, and the best thing to do at that time is to flee, or we stand up and we fight back. Now, if you're backed into a corner like the Palestinians have been, the way they've been rounded up like cattle and so forth, and been oppressed, they're backed into a corner and they are fighting back any way that they possibly could, just like a man who's backed into the corner of his own home and he's got multiple intruders coming after him and his family. He's going to do whatever he can to fight back in any means necessary to defend himself and his loved ones and his property and so forth. So I don't see a problem with that. Obviously, there's some. If you go to the root.
All right, what were we gonna say, Rad?
All right. So that was the wrong clip, but no, it is the right clip, but the wrong clip. There was another clip, a shorter one, where he actually quotes the Quran, right? Where he says, "Fight them where they fight you," blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? He says it multiple times in this interaction. Issa can testify to this. He said it multiple times, where he quotes the Quran, "Fight them wherever they fight you," blah 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 blah. You know, okay. Here's the thing. 1947. Okay. The Jews living in their territory that they purchased. Okay. There were some Arab villages, okay, in their area, which for centuries, these were dude, the Arabs traded with the Jews in their community. Okay, seriously, this is no joke. This is what they totally shocked a lot of the Jews. Okay, in these small little towns, these little villages, only a couple hundred to 1,000 people. Okay, little rural areas where they had been friends with each other. Okay, they had, you know what I'm saying. There was no problem between them. But as soon as as soon as partition was voted on, okay, by the UN, where they got 2/3 majority vote to partition Israel, and as you know, Israel only wanted a little sliver of the land. They didn't even give up. They didn't even want Jerusalem. They gave that up.
They wanted it, but they were not going. They knew they weren't going to get it. They took what they could get,
even though there were Jews living in Jerusalem. Okay, all right. But either way, they were like, okay, this is all we can get. This is what we're going to get. And the majority of that were the majority Jewish people. Okay? All right? They get this. As soon as that happened, these Arab, they totally went jihad crazy. Okay? No, there was this internal war. They cut off Jews in Jerusalem. They cut off, and that was where there was the major battles going on. Okay, was for them to free up the supply lines to supply the Jews in Jerusalem. Okay, because they completely cut that off. And oh, I forgot. You know what? Let me pull that on the Skype because this is what I'm gonna give you. I wanted to show you this, Eric. Yeah, let me play this one. Let me find it here. Yeah, I think this will work. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to share this. Okay, but this is talking about what happened here. This is a short 15 or not 15-minute clip, but a short clip that I want to play because this is very interesting. Again, this is from a documentary. This is from the PBS Public Broadcast System. They did a good documentary on this a while back. But here we go. These are the actual people that were involved in 1947. The first guy you're going to hear is a Jew. Let me know when you're ready. Can you get it shared?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
It was impossible to attack the enemy without hurting their families. It was difficult. It was painful, and I'm sorry we had to do it. But we had no choice.
This is urban warfare, house to house fight.
After the battle, they took 14 prisoners. They lined them up by the quarry and mowed them down. They threw their bodies in the quarry. That's what happened.
Why'd you pause it? What's up? Brad, you muted. Brad, you muted.
Sorry. Okay, I paused it because I want to explain that's wrong. They took them out. They took 14 people out. They lined them up in a ditch and they murdered them. Okay? But here's the reaction. Let me continue playing it. This is the reaction, and then you're going to see the propaganda and the results of this propaganda. So
make it full screen. Make it full screen.
Okay, I will. Okay, here we go. Is that full screen for you?
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. Here we go.
While this was going on, Jews came from the next village. Most of them were religious, by the way. They started yelling, "Bastards, murderers, what are you doing?" Some shouted in Hebrew, others in Yiddish. They stopped the massacre.
Okay, so you catch that? They stopped the massacre. Jews stopped these.
Who stopped the massacre?
The Jews did.
Who?
Stopped Jews. Jews stopped other Jews from committing a massacre, although they did kill 14 people. Okay? Again, horrible thing, horrible situation. But again, let's continue on because you're going to love this part. Again, remember, Kenny, you studied propaganda. Tell me if this is propaganda, Kenny, that you believe.
110 Arabs died in Deir Yassin. Some died fighting, others were murdered. The survivors were taken to Jerusalem.
We gathered in Jerusalem at the Hebron gate. We checked who was missing and who had survived. Then the Palestinian leaders arrived, including Dr. Khalidi.
I asked Dr. Khalidi how we should cover the story. He said, "We must make the most of this." So he wrote a press release stating that at Deir Yassin, children were murdered, pregnant women were raped, all sorts of atrocities. Arab radio stations passed on the false reports, ignoring the protests of the witnesses.
We said there was no rape. He said we have to say this so the Arab armies will come to liberate Palestine from the Jews.
Okay, so yes, you have a massacre. Yes, you have 14 people that were murdered. Horrible wrong. You have Jews that actually came and told them that they're basically being Nazis and murderers and they're bastards. Don't do this. Okay, and then you have the propaganda where they actually say, oh, wait a second, there were rapes and pregnant women are killed and all these horrible things and rapes, right? The propaganda, they broadcast on the radio. The actual fighter, as you saw him say, no, there were no rapes. He is adamant about this. There were no rapes. This did not happen, right? And they're like, no, we have to say this. We have to say this. That's called propaganda, Kenny. And you believe that kind of propaganda. But here, let's listen to the outcome of this because you're going to find this, well, morbidly funny. And this is only a few more seconds here. Here we go.
This was our biggest mistake.
Mistake!
We did not realize how our people would react. As soon as they heard that women had been raped at Deir Yassin, Palestinians fled in terror. They ran away from all our villages.
So because of the lie, the unnecessary lie, the propaganda, the stupidity, the people ran away from their villages. And then they kind of want to come back. I don't think so. There's something called abandonment. I'm just saying. But anyway, I just find that morbidly amusing because it demonstrates when you do propaganda, Kenny, sometimes that propaganda can backfire on you because your own people will believe the actual propaganda you're spewing. Anyway, continue on, please. I'm sorry.
So there are, let's see here. When we start talking about, okay, let me go to this one right here. This is classic. So we're going to go to 4803. 4803. Come on. There we go. Oh, let's just start right there. That's fine. My screen and make it big. Here we go. What is this?
Not hearing anything, dude. Not seeing any action going on. What's going on, dude? You gotta hit the little play button.
Give me a second here. That was yours. And
let me stop. Okay.
No, okay. No. All right. Doggone you, Kaffer. I wish I was better at this. Sometimes it's hard when you're stupid. Let's see here. Conflict. There we go. Okay, there we go. I think we got it now. All right, here we go.
Muslim majority territory in the Ottoman and later British Empire. The Arabs resisted because it was their land. They were already there. So again, this is stating the Jews came in, wanted to establish land in what was already occupied land. It says the Arabs resisted, seeing that the...
All right, I got the wrong, doggone it. I didn't move it up. Amateur hour. Here we go.
So that's clear cut. But what's transpiring in Palestine is that these people are literally being ostracized and exterminated and being subjugated in such a horrendous way by very powerful.
All right. Just listening to that, just it burns me. They're being ostracized and being exterminated. The Palestinian people are being ostracized and exterminated. And he's complaining that the Jews are doing it. Number one, the Jews aren't ostracizing the Palestinian people. The Palestinian people were given the opportunity, given complete control over Gaza. They were given businesses that brought in money. And that's another thing that he brought up. Oh, well, they don't have any economic, Issa was talking about not having any economic opportunity. They don't have any economic opportunity because they destroyed the businesses that the Jews gave them when they turned the land over to them. But he's going to say that they've been ostracized. Kind of like the Nuremberg laws. Is that the type of ostracization that you're talking about, where your citizenship and everything that you own is taken away from you? Is that does he even know what happened when the Palestinian or the Israelis gave that? You want the land? Fine, it's yours. Rule it yourselves. We're done trying to help you people. Also forgetting the fact that when those Arab armies came in 47 and 48 to attack the Jews, They told those people, say, get out of our way. We'll let you come back in once we go ahead and run these Jews into the sea.
Well, I got another clip on that, but we don't.
Let me finish.
Yeah.
Let me finish here. I'm not done. I'm nowhere near being done with this one. And to say that they're being exterminated is a lie. You are a liar. To saying that they're being, to try to imply that there's some type of equivalent here, that the Jews are doing the same thing that they happened to them. How dare you? How dare you try to equate this to places like Kelmo, Treblinka, Bergen-Belsen, Auschwitz, Sobibor, all these these camps that were specifically designed to kill and completely eradicate a human being? You're gonna try to make that type of argument that the Jews are doing the same thing to the Palestinians? We thought that maybe they wouldn't do that. They would have learned their lesson. Shut your flipping pie hole. How dare you equate to that? I mean, how can somebody? Well, I know how somebody can do it, because they're blinded by the hatred that they follow from that 7th century so-called prophet and what he had to say about the Jews. I can see how you would come up with this. And then he goes on to say, hold on, let's see here. What he goes on to say, no, I'm not gonna. I've already touched on that. Where let's say that he got his way, and that the Jews would then become a minority in their own country. What does he think that would happen to them then? Did he think that they would be treated fairly? You don't think that they would be made dhimmis? You don't think that their land would be taken from them? You don't think that they would be killed? I mean, you're a fool, is what you are. Red, go ahead.
I was just going to say that he would respond that that's all propaganda, everything that you just said, because he can't believe anything negative, or he would just dismiss it. But I wanted to continue on with. Well, here's the thing: they're committing genocide. Really, then I'm sorry, my Jewish brothers and sisters have not learned anything from my German brothers and sisters in the ancestral way, because they're not knowing how to do an actual genocide. I am sorry. The Palestinian population has only exponentially grown compared to the Israeli Jewish population, and that is something that they are very, very concerned about. But that's beside the point. Okay, so there is no genocide going on there. He also mentions in the video that they're starving. No, as a matter of fact, one of the major things that the World Health Organization, I wish I had the links up, I had to reboot, so I lost all those links. World Health Organization, they are more obese in Palestine than they are here in the United States of America. Okay, they are very well fed. Okay, obesity. Well, no, hold on. Let me take that back. We are still the most obese country in the world.
Okay, I was gonna say
they are rapidly approaching that. They are fed more, and they are actually fed better. Okay, in Palestine, in Gaza, in the West Bank, than we are actually here, in our poorest of our poor in the United States of America. They actually get more money, more food, more access, okay, to things than we do here. Now, the problem is that, and this is something I wanted to find, but I couldn't find it. After Oslo, the Israelis in the United States of America, we poured in a bunch of money, okay, or they poured in a bunch of money to develop Gaza and to develop the West Bank, these cities. They lots of concrete, especially in Gaza. Instead of using that concrete to build houses, to build infrastructure, what did they do? They built tunnels. And these are not like, like VC. Well, the VC tunnels were really, really elaborate as well. But these are like underground bunkers. This would make something the Nazi Germans would be really impressed at during the end of World War II. No, these are elaborate things. These are reinforced concrete. Okay, they poured a crap load of concrete into these tunnels, and also they took. Guess what? We gave them. The Israelis, as well as the United States, we gave them all kinds of sewer pipes. Well, guess what they did with the sewer pipes? They turned them into rockets. Because I'm seriously, yes. The only thing you need it for a rocket is 1, a tube. Okay, 2, something that's very expendable explosive, like a nitrate kind of thing. Combine it in there and give it an access point and put some fins on it, and you got yourself a rocket. Oh, put a cone on the end of it with a warhead, and you got yourself a rocket. It's relatively simple to do, people. Anyway, like I said, any high school shop guy can do the mechanics of it. And you just get your friend like me that was in organic chemistry, and you got yourself a rocket and explosive. But that's beside the point. Anyway, okay. So yeah, so that's what they did. Okay. So dude, the Israelis poured in all kinds of money. This. Oh God, I wish I had the link on this. This happened in like 2004, 2005, or whatever. But they poured a crap load of money, literally a crap load of money, to shore up this crap retention pond. It was the cesspool of the city of Gaza, I think. I think it was Gaza, or maybe it was one of the little villages. But they poured a bunch of money to actually reinforce this, to develop this, to get, because they were just pouring all their crap, okay, into this pond, and this pond turned into a crap lake, and dude, either way, the dam burst on the crap lake, and the whole town was flooded up to 7 feet of literal human crap. Okay, it didn't go well. But they're asking, where'd the money go? We gave you all this money to do it. Oh, well, we had to build, tunnels and rockets and stuff, to kill Jews. Okay, so no, they squandered the money. Dude, no, again, okay. I am sorry. You know what? Honestly, I feel bad for the average Palestinians because their leadership is just hell bent on just killing Jews. That's all they want because they can keep them controlled. And, having Kenny ignore and say, I don't know anything about Hamas. I don't know anything about that. I just know because, they fire, rockets and then Israel responds. Oh, here's another thing, Kenny. You quoting the Quran of fight them wherever they fight you. Just guess what? You defended Israel fighting back against Hamas because everything is a reaction to them. Hamas fires the rockets, okay? Not one rocket, not two rockets, but they are firing thousands of rockets. Well, they haven't done it in a while, but they would fire thousands of rockets, okay, into Israel, okay? Now then, after that, okay, Israel would respond. So yes, Kenny, they are fighting them where they are being fought, okay? And they are driving them out. But once they stop, the Israelis stop, okay? So that's what you're looking at there.
How far back do we go with that anyway?
How far back we go with what?
Well, I mean, if you fight them where they put you out of the places that you were put out of. How about Hagia Sophia? When is it going to be right for the?
Oh, I got it. Right, no,
take that place back. It was built by Christians. It was the largest Christian church on the planet until it was taken over at the fall of Constantinople. I mean, when is there a statute of limitations that we have to abide by? What about the Christians and Jerusalem? I mean, when Omar come, traipsing through there, supposedly, I say this is because there's no external evidence for this. The Rashidun caliphates goes in there and take. What about Alexandria, Egypt? When do the Christians get that back? Spain. I mean, we had to force the Muslims out of Spain. Oh, well, you forced us out. How dare you? That we were there for 700 years. Well, you came in there and you killed a bunch of Christians. You, meaning Muslims. I mean, is there a time scale and where there's the statute of limitations where, okay, beginning of this date, then you have no right to the land. And that date probably just magically, is 623? Let me guess. I mean, I might be wrong on that.
Well, I got one a little bit closer to home, especially to the Imam Kenny out there in Houston. Go ahead and post my chat that I just put there in YouTube. Go ahead and put that. So Kenny, long before you lived in Houston or any white men settled in Houston, there were these two native tribes. Okay, go ahead and post it up.
You're not going to go there.
Yes, I am going to go there because
where is it? I don't see it. Where is it?
I posted in the YouTubes. Didn't I post it? Isn't it there in the YouTubes?
Oh, it's okay.
Karanakawalas and the Arkansas. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Yeah. I see
Okay.
it. I see it.
Well, these are two of the tribes, and again, I don't know anything about these tribes or what they believe, but I do know I just went to Google and found it. Anyway, they lived in the area that is now Houston. So if any of those members of the tribe just show up, they're just fighting you, Kenny. You know, they can
Well,
go and bomb your
this
house.
is the same thing as saying, you know, that the Mexicans can lay claim to Houston because
There you go.
The Texans went in and took it away from them, and then the United States annexed Texas. You know, and
Mexico can fire rockets.
Are they right? Are they legit? Would they be legitimate to do that, to bomb the Kenny Castle down there? He would be the last one I would expect to find on the news, you know, complaining about his house getting rocketed and shelled by them Lascaux Mexicans wanting their land back.
They're just fighting you where you fought them, even though you didn't fight them. Yeah. But that's beside the point, Kenny. Okay? Seriously. I mean, think about what you're saying here, dude. I mean, any people that, you know, come in possession of land and form their own nation, all of a sudden, okay? I mean, seriously, you can, dude, German, you can, dude, anything, any of the European tribes, anything. This makes no sense, okay? And your justification of this, and your only justification is because they're Muslims.
Exactly. That's the justification. And he will never admit this, but the justification for his hatred of the existence of Israel is because they're not Muslim. It's because Muslims supposedly had control of that land during the Ottoman Empire, at the time of the Ottomans.
And how did they get control of it during the Ottoman Empire?
They went in there by the sword. They took it away from people. But the bottom line, the thing is that the Ottomans sided with the wrong side. They sided with the Kaiser and the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and they lost everything. And now he does not want to have any consequences of the loss of the Ottoman Empire. And the British went in there and they ruled it. They allowed Jews to start coming back in. And then when that British mandate ends in 1947 or 48, whatever year it was, and the Jews claimed no, we can't have that. No, we can't have it. It has to go back to the Arabs. No, it does not. Wars have consequences. And when you wage war against another country and you lose, don't you dare expect that country to have to be. And also, this is what I just don't understand. Where are your Muslim brothers, Kenny? Where are your Jordanian brothers taking those people from the West Bank who lost all of their land, absorbing them into Jordanian society? Where are the Egyptians providing a sense of dignity and citizenship to people that are in Hamas and they're elected Hamas holes? Where are these people? No, you're saying the Jews have to do it. No, the Jews don't have to do it. After what happened to the Jews during the Holocaust, leave them alone. But you can't. Why? Because your prophet tells you these things in your Quran and the things that he did. I mean, think of how many different times we find anti-Semitic comments in the Hadith literature. The Jews. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it up. You guys go ahead. Issa, you were gonna say something. Go ahead.
I do have something to say.
Go ahead.
I was gonna bring up Pakistan because that's the big elephant in the room, and I'm of South Asian origin too. So South Asia is a big important place to me, and it's in a pretty bad condition now. There are two South Asian Muslim countries. There's Bangladesh and Pakistan. Pakistan, it was actually, both of them were one country in 1948. And the whole point was it was supposed to be freedom for Muslim brown people. I have a term I call Masala Muslim. Brown Muslims are Masala Muslims, you know, like the spice. It kind of rhymes. So, it's an alliteration. So the Masala Muslims had this space, and I find it strange when I hear Masala Muslims get very upset about Israel. I'm like, but your justification is exactly the same as Israel. You're not any different than Israel. You know what I mean? I'm like, you're not any different. So I think, and I brought that up, and it's like, people, it is a double standard, Eric. You're right. There's this great double standard where you're like, well, if it's a Muslim person, it's okay to have the country and make it a Muslim country, but if it's a Jewish country, it's not. And I'm like, I find that to be very problematic. And you're like, well, these terrible things happen. I'm like, well, in 1971, there was a genocide called the Bangladesh genocide. No one knows about it, but we'll hear all about Nakba. We'll hear about all the Intifada. We'll hear about every single horrible thing that Jewish people did to Palestinians, but you'll never hear anything about what happened. That you don't hear about the scandal of Rangila Rasul. You don't hear about any of these problems. And I'm like, if you want truth, you have to be accountable, and there's a lack of accountability, and that's something I care about, is being accountable. We must be accountable about these things. And the thing is, look, Israel does exist. How do we make it better for everyone who's living there? I think Jewish people, having been with all the Jewish folks, have this experience. And I have a personal story to share about my own life. I went to a school that was half black, half Palestinian. So I got to really know Palestinian folks quite well. And I had brought up at one point, there was this girl that I think liked me, and we kind of got along, and we used to talk a little bit there. And at one point I had revealed that was Jewish, that I came from a Jewish background, that that's my ethnicity and my culture and who I am. And all the Palestinians looked at me, and it changed. All my friends who were Palestinian 1 minute looked at me like I was the evil enemy. I didn't know anything about Palestine. Israel. I was 15. I didn't know anything about it. But it was such a horrifying experience. It was a very painful experience to have that. And I watched those Gil Schuster videos that you shared, the ask a Palestinian, ask Israeli, and it was the same kind of mentality. It was horrifying. And I'm like, we've got to get people out of this evil mentality. And I get it, people are suffering, but you cannot want people to die. I don't know if you showed the video on this one, but they said if you were to drop a nuclear bomb on Tel Aviv, would you, if Iran were supposed to do that, would you do that? Would you accept that? And some of the people said yes. And they said, even at the expense of your life, then the occupation is over. I'm like, what an insane type of narrative. It's not even an occupation. If you want to blame people, blame the British. Don't blame the Jewish people. If you have a problem, the British did cause this situation. So, and a lot of Muslim countries, and I would say European countries too, both of them did this. They kicked the Jews out of the space. And we have to talk about that. And Arab nations are like, oh, I think the Jews, they did this terrible thing. But I'm like, you kicked them out of their homes. What do you expect is going to happen? The only country that I know that even has any significant Jewish population is Morocco. And it's maybe 5,000 people. It's so small.
There's
I'm
nothing in the Arab world, there's no Jews left in the Arab world. And the reason why is that when the Jewish state was founded, they were told to leave. And you want your homeland? Leave. You can't take anything with you. Get out.
Which
and they were the ones. They were the ones that were truly exiled. But nobody wants to talk about. Nobody wants to mention that fact. They only want to focus on this sliver of a population that could have just as easily been absorbed into the countries of Jordan, Syria, and Egypt. That's the only thing they want to focus on because they hate the Jews.
Which again demonstrates the folly of just being totally blinded by hatred. Because when the Arabs expelled all those Jews, that meant Israel absorbed basically all those fighters. Okay, they increased their population because the Arabs exposed all those Jews. And when the Arabs made the propaganda, or when the Palestinian Arabs made the propaganda lie that the Israelis were raping women and caused them to flee their towns and villages, and when then later on when the Arab nations invaded and put out their propaganda to flee our bullets, we are not here for the booty. Once we kick the Jews out, you can have all the spoils of war. Okay. And they drove them into Jordan.
They have proof of that.
Yes. We have the radio broadcast.
Right.
We have the pamphlet. Yes.
Right.
Yes. Anyway, but drove them out into Jordan, into Lebanon, into Syria, and somewhat into Egypt. Well, actually, no, not so much into Egypt. Egypt just put them all into Gaza, which is another interesting story. Nobody wants Gaza, which is the funniest thing. And if you read biblically, Gaza has always been a problem. Nobody wants Gaza. It's always been, it's always been a problem. Anyway, so here's what you have. Well, in Jordan, for instance, and this is one thing King Hussein of Jordan, the original, he got suckered into this, okay, by the Syrians, okay, into the first one, into the 1967 one.
67 one. He didn't want to go.
Yeah,
but
he didn't want to go.
Right.
And he lost like half his country.
Yeah.
Well, not half his country, but he lost a substantial amount of territory. And then you have all these Palestinians, and he goes to war with them. He actually went to war with them. See, Kenny probably doesn't even know about these. He says, I don't know. It's all propaganda.
Trust me, he doesn't know.
Yeah, he went to war with it, and they kicked the PLO out because the Palestinians were trying to kill him. I wish I had the clip all set up. I play for it. He's like, yeah, I'm at the airport, and all of a sudden there's machine gun bullets bounce out, and I'm like, he's like, I'm pissed. I'm like, how dare you try to kill me? Anyway, but yeah, so they were trying to kill him and overthrow him. So, guess what? Here's another little fun fact of history. And it's not propaganda. The Palestinians, because their refugee camp, which is actually a major city, okay, is now being shelled by the Jordanians because they're like, you guys got to go, okay? And the Palestinians calling the Syrians to help, and the Syrians sent in tanks into Jordan. And Jordan's like, dude, what the hell? We can't do it. They called the Americans, and the Americans are like, we got nothing in the area right now, okay, to help you, but the Israelis do, and they're willing to help. The Israelis sent Phantom jets in, okay, to do low-level flyovers to let these tankers know that they got to get out or they're going to be fired upon, okay, which then caused the Syrians to drive back their tank invasion of Jordan. Totally funny. But anyway, they kicked Yasser Arafat out and the PLO. But here's the bottom line, Kenny, and this is something you don't get. These Arab nations, remember, they're all Arab Muslims. Yeah, solidarity. It's all for Islam. Yeah. Dude, there are 17, I believe, 17, okay, positions, okay, or industries that they cannot work in. They cannot be doctors. They cannot be nurses. They cannot be lawyers. They cannot work in any of the trades, plumbing, electrical, anything like that. There's like 17 of them, okay? All right? Dude, they're just forced to live in these camps and do nothing in Arab countries where they could be easily absorbed into it. But why? Well, I don't know why. Oh, you know why? Because I actually know, obviously, Arab friends, especially from Iraq, actually from Palestine too. They say, you know what? Literally, they say we're worse than blacks in America because we lost our land to Jews. Even though they didn't lose nothing, they got kicked out by the Arabs, which is kind of funny, irony. But no, they are looked down upon. The Palestinian is the worst of the worst. Well, other than a Christian or a Jew, they're the second level worst of the worst because they lost their land to Jews. How dare they? Even though they really didn't, it was the Jordanians, the Egyptians, the Syrians, the Lebanese, and Iraq. Anyway,
I want to play another clip here. Let's see here. Let's get it up. It's 11. Let's just start at 11:06.
You know, there was one thing I wanted to talk about too, and I brought it up with Imam Bomer, was the Grand Mufti being a Nazi. I mean, like, it
I got that clip.
It got.
Should I play
really
that clip first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Should I play that clip first?
If that's okay with.
Let me play that clip, Mr. Eric, while you find yours.
No, I already found mine. What number is it?
The one where it actually says he's a Nazi. Hold on. What do I do with it? It
Grand
would
Mufti
be.
is a Nazi. I got it.
Yeah, go ahead and play that. That. That's totally funny.
Okay. Home. Let me do this again. Mr. Grand Mufti is a Nazi. Okay. Share. Let's share this Hamajama, make it big and bright so everybody can see.
Palestine was his ally, by the way. He was a Nazi too. So just to be very fair,
listen.
He was a Nazi. He was a hardcore Nazi. His stuff was pretty horrible. If you read his stuff, he's a pretty awful guy. But
yeah, well, I'm not doubting that. I mean, there's individuals that do individualized things.
How the Arab nation.
Okay, he was the Grand Mufti. He's the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem.
Let Issa comment. Go ahead, Issa.
It was just horrifying. Like, we cannot justify a Nazi. Nazis are evil fascists. Like, that's it. We don't accept Nazism. Like, it's horrible and bad. And I just wish he kind of took a stronger stance on that and been like, dude, he's a Nazi, and not just like some kind of consequential thing, like, oh, some person's a Nazi. I'm like, this is the leader of this area who is a Nazi, and we need to have accountability for that. And you never hear that. Like, when you watch like a Hamas video, they're not saying, hey, our Grand Mufti was this horrible Nazi that believed in Jewish genocide. Like, we got to talk about that.
They actually had a Palestinian Waffen SS group, and hold on, not only just a Waffen SS group, but an Eisengruppen, group of Palestinian SS. The Eisengruppen, for those that you do not know, they were the ones that did the special handling. They were the ones that went out on the Jew hunts. Okay, they were the ones that rounded them up and put them into cattle cars. Okay,
they're the ones that the firing squad, especially when you get into
that was
Poland and the Ukraine and Babi Yar. Those were Eisengruppen that did all that.
That was 43. But after 43, after the Wesen conference, the Eisengruppen were specifically SS Nazi concentration camp guards, or they did the roundup to put them in the concentration camp. They didn't do the shooting no more because they learned that's not a good way to do things if you're going to kill people.
Well, it drove them crazy is what it did. It drove them nuts. Okay.
But anyway, but you're right, Issa. Hold on. But you're right, Issa. That was his common theme. Anything that you brought up that was negative against the Palestinians, well, those are only individuals. We can't talk about this. But anything that was bad, with the Jews, it was all the Jews. Do you see what I'm saying? Would you agree with that, Issa? That was pretty much his overall argumentation.
I did feel really kind of disappointed and sad about that point where I'm like, sir, we can agree that they're suffering and struggling, but you're really minimalizing what's going on the other side. If we want to be fair, we have to hold Palestinians accountable. And I also talked about racism. I saw it. I saw Palestinian people in my school call black people Abid. Abid means slave. I saw it. And you're trying to tell me, oh, everything's just wonderful, completely innocent. I'm like, there's some problems here. There's anti-Jewishness. There's the problems of the anti-Jewishness, anti-blackness. I'm like, and that, we have to be accountable if we want to have a real discussion. If we're not, then there's a problem. There's a real problem there.
Okay, on the screen, I mean, trying to minimize this. We're talking about the Palestinian issue. The PLO is created by this guy right here, Yasser Arafat. Who is this guy's mentor? It's this guy right here. This is the Grand Mufti that was a Nazi sympathizer, a Nazi collaborator. Listen to what this is a quote. Arabs rise as one man and fight for your sacred rights. Kill the Jews wherever you find them. And then he justified, this pleases God, history and religion. This saves your honor. God is with you. Kill the Jews wherever you find them. This is the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization's mentor, the leader of the PLO, his mentor, a direct quote from him. And this is some inconsequential guy? Really? You're going to try to make that, you're going to dismiss that? Really? What kind of sick... Be kind. You can't be anything. Be kind. How can you possibly say something like that unless you're either ignorant of history or you are that big of a hypocrite or you truly hate Jews? I don't know which one it is, but it has to be at least one of those three. It could be a combination of a couple of them. I wouldn't doubt that for a second.
Here's the funny irony of this whole thing with Yasser Arafat. Yasser Arafat was a failure on every level, but he was a great propagandist. No, literally, all these supposed raids that he went on, okay, that developed this thing. Actually, no, Yasser Arafat was actually a genius because before Yasser Arafat, he was a genius. Let me put it this way. Okay, just like Adolf Hitler was a genius. I can say that because he was. Brilliant mastermind, evil, desperate mastermind. But no, Yasser Arafat, okay? Before Yasser Arafat, they were all the Palestinian. There was no Palestinian. They didn't consider themselves.
He invented the Palestinian. This is exactly right.
Yeah. They were Jordanians. They were just Arabs overall. Okay, and they were all wanting these Arab nations to come in and rescue them. What Yasser Arafat said was say, no, we are Palestinians. He actually invented it. And he actually did it. And he took up the cause. And he was brilliant on this. Or the people
Where do you think he got that name, though? Where do you think he got the name to apply it to those people?
Well, okay, so the term was used beforehand, but it was just for the region. We're Palestinian Arabs, okay? But no, he made it into a national identity. I don't know where he actually got the idea for it. Do you have something to add to that? But he actually made it into an idea of a national identity separate from the Jordanians, which was a made-up country, by the way, after 1917.
Right.
Separate from the Syrians.
Right? They divided the whole thing up after World War One. The Ottoman Empire collapsed, and all those lands.
Which Issa tried to bring up, but that was beyond Kenny's intellect. I would hope it would have gone into that. Would have been a great discussion. But anyway, but he actually solidified that, him and his crew and his team, because if you read and you look at the documentaries of these raids that he went on, they were complete failures, but he would promote them as great successes. You know what I mean? And he would promote himself, and it worked out really well. But either way, he actually did, and I would say geniusly so. He solidified it as being not just an Arab in living in Palestine, but an actual Palestinian, a nationality, just like the Syrians, just like the Jordanians, just like the Egyptians, who are not Arab, by the way. Okay, just like all these other regions that were actually the ones oppressing them, by the way. Okay, so he took up that banner, that cause. But here's the funny thing: he's exiled. He's exiled in Tunisia when the first Intifada happened. The PLO had nothing to Yasser Arafat and the PLO had nothing to do with that Intifada. They were freaking out because they had no control of it. They had no one on the ground that was doing it. That was totally, completely separate from the PLO leadership. Okay, but unfortunately, he was able to capitalize on it and take it over later on. Do you see what I'm saying? That's the kind of the political genius of Yasser Arafat, the gay homosexual who,
okay,
the Arabs killed with plutonium. Anyway, that's another part of the story. But yeah, so that was kind of interesting. But no, that's the brilliance of Yasser Arafat. I do not diminish him at all. I think he was actually a brilliant propagandist, Kenny, because he was.
I just remember that. I remember that video where he was in that plane crash, and and I shouldn't think this, but I did. And they have video of him. They're pulling him out of the plane crash. And he's like, hey, I'm alive. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what does it take to kill this guy? What does it take to kill this terrorist?
It took plutonium that was either given by the U.S. or the Israelis to the actual PLO. They actually killed him. In other words, we gave them the plutonium, but they actually poisoned him with. No, they did. It is well documented. Okay, I mean, if you believe.
All right. Well, somebody that evil just needs to go away. Someone that torments the Jews that much needs to go away. All right, so let me play another clip here. All right, this one is about 30 seconds long.
Now, in this ongoing conflict, we know that the Israelis have a far superior army than Palestinians. Matter of fact, the Palestinians don't really even have an army. They're using, Molotov cocktails and basically whatever they can get their hands on, rocks and whatever, to try to fight back in any way that they can. And maybe here or there they get their hands on a rocket launcher or some type of weaponry that would aid in their defense of their homeland.
Okay, so they are going to get weaponry to aid in the defense of their homeland. Now, my question is that what does he consider to be their homeland? Is that all of Israel? Is that the Gaza? Is that the West Bank? What exactly is he saying is their homeland? And if he is saying that it is all of Israel, well, then they can go anywhere they want to. And they can, according to this guy, I played at the beginning of the show, he says it's it's legitimate for the Hamas holds to fire rockets into Israel indiscriminately. Now he says, what did he say? He says, Molotov cocktails. They're getting Molotov cocktails and whatever they can get their hands on, rocks, whatever. Okay. Now, okay. So what does he know what a Katyusha rocket is? Has he ever heard of it? Okay. How about Qassam rockets that they made on their own? What about Al-Quds rockets? You can't really tell the difference between one of these rockets and a Molotov cocktail. There might be. Let's see here. How about the Faj 333 millimeter Iranian rockets that they've been firing? Rocket launcher.
Which they can
hold on. I got more. How about a BM-21 field rocket system, Russian made? You ever hear of that? How about who cares? I mean, are you flipping kidding me? You're going to equate what they're doing? Are you seriously trying to make this argument that they're just throwing Molotov cocktails? They're just throwing rocks. They're not killing innocent. They're not. I mean, they're not doing all these other things that are going on in Israel. They had to build a flipping wall to keep these people out of Jerusalem. Exactly. In order to, and you know what? It worked. Instead of having a bombing a day, it went down to having a bombing every 6 months. Still bombings, killing Jews.
Homicide bombings, which in all fairness, Hamas is now renounced because it didn't work. But there was a period of 2 to 3 years where they were actually doing they were talking these poor sons of bitches. I'm sorry. They and even women too. They were recruiting them in there just to go blow themselves up and kill Jews. And this was happening once every week. Yep. Buses, restaurants, discotheques. I mean, no. And they built a wall, and which actually added to the oppression.
But that's exactly what he's trying to say. You walling these people up. You're ostracizing them. You're excluding. Well, if they would quit killing Jews, this wouldn't happen. But now what do they do? They're getting in cars and running over Jews whenever they're getting knives and stabbing. They're doing anything and everything. Their hatred is so innate.
Which Issa brought up, and Kenny just dismissed it. Knives? Come on, man. Knives? Come on.
Can't hurt anybody.
Actually, you know what? There are many of cases where a dude walks into a crowd, in a city, and just starts stabbing people, and he kills 10, 15 people before they even know it.
You're actually, Rad. It's interesting because I went on mission. I was in Israel, and I went on a mission trip for the 75th birthday of Israel, and I was on the action portion of the tour, like the action and adventure stuff. So one of our elements was we were getting trained by an IDF soldier, and he said there's this thing they call it Allah Akbar or Allahu Akbar, where the person comes and stabs you from behind. And you have to prepare for that. Like, what kind of defense mechanism do you do against the Allah Akbar? And I was like, wow, it's that bad that there's a name for it because the person is saying that. It's such a horrendous thing that a person would do. And you know what? I think Kenny and I definitely agreed when it came to, like, let's have accountability. I just wish... No,
sir. If that's the way he came across, He does not agree with accountability at all.
Yeah, there's no accountability. No, it was lip service. No, and anything where because if you notice, he just dismisses it. He just says, "Yeah, there are good and bad people on both sides, blah blah." But listen, those Jews, they got the Iron Dome, and they go in, blah blah, blah. And the Palestinians, they got knives. And I'm sorry, dude, you just start stabbing people, especially if you are trained and you know where to plunge that knife. Okay, true, most people carry a backpack now, but Eric will testify. You stab someone in the kidney area, they're dead within, probably a minute or two, and they won't even know it. They seriously will not even know it. You get them in the right spot, and you could just go through a crowd. There are cases, especially in China, this has happened to that I'm thinking of, where dudes just go into a really crowded area and just start stabbing people, and he's already killed 15 people before anybody knows anything. True, they die a couple minutes later, but they're like, "What happened? Somebody, what?" Because your body's not going to feel it. You know what I mean? It's going to be like a pinprick. You know what I mean? It's going to be like, what happened?
Let me play another clip. Let me play another. I got a couple clips I want to play.
Oh, I want to play one clip at the end. But...
What? What'd you say?
What?
Society to live in. I couldn't really discuss this situation, but I really, it's.
I mean, what was the religious beliefs behind the Crusades? Were they if they did this, were they going to get some of the sins taken away? Or were they doing a good thing? Or
so we know.
What was the main objective?
Okay, so note this is Einstein speaking here, talking about the Crusaders, lamenting the fact that the Crusaders, when they came into the Holy Land, that they were told that they're going to get their sins taken away. I mean, what kind of what kind of stupid ideology is that? If you go and fight and kill somebody, you're going to have your sins removed. Where in the heck would that come from? Who in the heck would teach that nonsense? Where exactly would we find it? Do we find that anywhere else? Do we? Oh my goodness, I think we do. It has something about if you die in the way of jihad, your sins are automatically forgiven. You go straight to heaven. You don't pass go. You can take, I don't know how many family members with you, and then you get to have perpetual sex for all of eternity with these translucent sugar babes, these houris, whatever the heck they are. Why would somebody who is supposedly supposed to be thinking clearly and is a Muslim ever make a complaint against the Crusades like that? That is of all the things that were said, that's at least top 5 of being either completely ignorant or hypocritical. That was a bad. Okay. What did you want to play, Rad? Rad. Where did Rad go? I got another one if he doesn't want to.
That is a fair point, though. That it is actually something really horrendous and terrible that is there. That's fair. It's a very terrible thing.
Yeah, I don't know. You're going to say that you're going to, if you die in the cause of and if you die in the cause of fighting, you go straight to heaven. Your sins are forgiven.
And I would say that
he's lamenting that, really?
Well, and that belief that was stated there, like the Crusades, these people were not. I was just talking to my very close companion, and she was telling me about. She's like, these people aren't even real Christians. To her, people who kill and stuff, that's not a real Christian to her. She says that's not a Christian. So
why would she say that?
She said a real Christian would never kill, would never rape, would never do any of that stuff. The person may call themselves a Christian, but they're not really a Christian. So
why? What makes them? Because you made another comment that it kind of caught my ear.
Well, hold on.
It was about the New Testament, not about being about forgiveness, and has nothing to do with justice. And I would completely disagree with that. The New Testament has everything to do with justice, God's justice being paid through the person of Jesus Christ and the sacrificial atonement on a cross. That's justice.
Condemnation and wrath and total complete destruction.
But anyway, okay, so I didn't mean to get off on a tangent. The point that I'm trying to make, Issa, with that is that, of course, it's not Christ-like to want to go kill somebody. I mean, that's like the opposite of what Jesus taught.
Exactly.
I agree 100% with that. I was just kind of being flippant
But
about it.
So you have to define things. Okay, I'm sorry, killing, no, because Kenny is right. Someone breaks into my house and they're hell bent on trying to murder me and my family. It would be immoral for me not to kill them, okay, or not to at least attempt to kill them, okay. Or if I see a wrong, or if I see my neighbors, like which happened. I showed you that video, Eric, a couple months ago, where there was that home invasion, but it really wasn't. But I thought it was a home invasion, and I went out there with. Never mind. Anyway, put a stop to it. I didn't have to shoot anyone, but they call me Uncle Jesse now. Anyway, but yeah, that's beside the point. But the point is this, okay? There's a difference between killing and a difference between murder. Murder being unlawful or unjustified killing, okay? And I think that's the thing. And the thing with Christianity, where he tells you to turn the other cheek, he is talking specifically against the things that these Islamicists are doing, or even you don't. Someone comes and kills me and my family, my clan does not have a right to go and kill your family and clan. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, and that's what he's pretty much talking about. There's no this tit for tat, this whole thing where someone does you wrong, then you go out and do wrong to everyone in their family. And that's what I want to do, express on that. And well, anyway, I do have one clip that I want to play right before the end, which we're rapidly approaching. But
I got one more.
Okay, go ahead.
Here it is. Let me play.
And Israel and the surrounding Arab nations fought several wars over the territory. It says today's lines largely reflect the outcomes of two of these wars, one waged in 1948 and another in 1967. The 1967 war is particularly important for today's conflict, as it left Israel in control of the West Bank and Gaza Strip.
Okay, so the 1967 war, of course, we covered that last week. The 1967 war, this is where Israel had almost the entire army of Egypt parked on its southwest border on the Sinai. It had Jordan putting all kinds of tanks and artillery and soldiers into the West Bank. It had Syria mounting its armor and its soldiers in the Golan Heights. And Israel, seeing that it's going to be attacked from all sides, preemptively, it had to shut down its whole country. I explained this last week. It shut down its entire country and called everybody up from their army reserves to prepare for battle. And then they attacked the Egyptian Air Force, destroyed it in 2 hours, and was able to neutralize the Egyptian army in the Sinai within a couple days. But then at the same time, Syria attacks from the Golan and Jordan attacks from the West Bank. Now, when they lost the war, according to the laws of warfare, Israel was required to give back the Sinai. Why? Because Israel, even though they were being going to be attacked by Egypt, even though Egypt had their whole army up there and everything looked like, and Egypt didn't do that just to say hello. I mean, let's be honest here. They were going to attack Israel. They were going to annihilate Israel. That was the whole goal. They lost in 64, and now they're trying it again in 63. And Israel preemptively destroys their air force, takes away their eyes, and was able to destroy much of their armor in the desert. And then they turned the other way and went after the Jordanians and the Syrians who were coming out of the Golan Heights and coming out of the West Bank, and they were able to push them back out. And so that, according to the laws of warfare, Mr. Imam History Man, left them in control of the West Bank, left them in control of the Golan, making it their territory, part of their country, legitimately their country. The people and Israel, it's their country. They can do what they want with it. Every time you turn around, this is what we hear when they build a neighborhood in the West Bank. Oh my gosh, this is such an approach, an affront to the peace of the Palestinians. It's not their land. It's no longer their land. They used it to attack the Jewish state, and it's no longer theirs. If you want to make the argument that that they have to give it back, then you're going to have to make the argument that the Germans are going to have to get their land back too that they lost during World War II. But if you're not going to do that, then you are being a hypocrite. All right, Rad, your turn.
All right. Well, just to add to that really quickly here, that whole 1967 war was based on propaganda, an actual lie that the Russian the Russians spread that Israel was going to attack Egypt first. No, I'm not making this up. Total lie. For some reason, the Russians wanted to start this war, and it had devastating thing for their allies. It totally was completely ridiculous. In both, no, here's the funny thing: Israel and Egypt were both told you cannot invade first, you cannot attack first. Well, the Israelis were like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? They're massing, okay, in the Sinai. They're massing in the Golan. They're massing in Jordan. You know.
Well, Nasser went to Russia. Went to call. Was it Nikita Khrushchev, begging him to get involved? And he told him to pack it. You know, we gave you all them tanks. We gave you all that equipment. And you're going to get beat by little tiny Israel. You guys deserve it.
But it was Russia that started the whole thing. This is totally funny, dude.
All right, let's go. We got to go. I got to get sure.
Let's play my clip. This is for. I'm not going to comment on it. But
Which number? Which number?
I'm going to play it. I'm going to share it because I got it all set up, ready to go. Okay, here we go. All right. This is for those that know. If you know. If you know, then you know. Are you ready?
I guess. All right, go ahead.
No,
full screen. Full screen. Full screen. Full screen.
Here we go.
Full screen.
Am I full screen in it?
Now you are. Go ahead.
Okay. Here we go.
I might call some Muslims trash. I'm prone to do that. If I see you're doing something that is so just despicable that I just can't stand it, then
I got a question for you to ask David Wood on my behalf.
What's that?
Ask him if Jesus was a Christian.
Yeah.
What?
If he says no, then he says no. If he says no, ask him why are you Christian?
Wait for.
And that's all I want to know.
What?
Please, just on my behalf. You don't like me, because I think I got his YouTube channel took down a couple of times, but yeah. Just on my behalf, please. But I got to go, so assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother. Have a good one.
Who is he talking about?
If you know, then you know. Okay, no, so okay, so the clip starts out, because evidently you're not paying attention here. Again, this is for those that know, then you know. Evidently, even though you should be knowing this, but you're not knowing this. He starts out saying that he would call Muslims trash because they did something that's so despicable. Okay? And then here you have Marshall talking about the upcoming debate between David Wood, okay, and Kenny in a couple weeks here. Okay.
Why is he doing that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Right.
Because but either way, and what does Marshall say? David Wood doesn't like me because I got his YouTube channel taken down a couple times. What does Kenny say? Nothing. Remember, Kenny and the whole thing was that, Kenny would say that he would call a Muslim trash if he was doing something that he disagreed with. That was so despicable. Here, Marshall says he took down David Wood's YouTube channel. He doesn't say anything. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mom,
do you get it?
Yep, got it now.
You get it? Okay.
I see it now. Yeah. Thank you for that illustration. All right, everybody, we're going to call it a day.
Close.
I will. While we were doing this show, I came up with next week's topic, which will be Islamic anti-Semitism. We're going to be looking at the writings within the Islamic text. I'm sorry, hold on. We're going to be looking at the writings within the Islamic text that clearly demonstrate that Muhammad was an anti-Semite, and then that anti-Semitism, it's evidence now even in the Palestinian and Israeli conflict and issue. Everybody that was in chat today, thank you for coming. I love you guys, and I appreciate everything that you contribute in there. The guys on the panel, God bless you. Thanks for coming. Even you, Issa, we thank you for coming. And I'm kidding you, brother. We appreciate everybody coming and sharing their Sunday afternoon with us. We'll see you all next week on the Cross and Crescent.
Advanced student and specialist, that the standard narrative has holes. That's what
that the Muslims were rioting against one another. And as much as we don't want to face the fact, the Muslims were lying sometimes. They were fabricating, they were embellishing, and that might be hard to accept, but that is a reality.